Yes, we are in Liverpool Gin Distillery. One day early. It is not Friday. That may have escaped your notice. You might think, my God, if I move forward in time. No. Neil Atkinson and John Gibbons are here on a Thursday. We're not going to do a Talking Reds tomorrow. The international break will be the international break. We know how this goes. I mean, if something breaks, we'll do a special. We'll pull it all in and we'll make it all happen. But realistically, we just thought, you know what, we won't even worry you tomorrow. Take it easy, have a nice weekend. Spend some time with the family. What do you think?
Explore other things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Other hobbies are available.
Go for a walk on your dinner. It's important to get out and about.
What was your favourite dinner walk?
Do you know what? I like doing a little museum one,
Do you?
Yeah. So every now and again, our office is right by the Liverpool Museum. So every now and again, I'll pop in and just have a little walk around. So I've done the John Lennon and Yoko thing, and that's quite a nice thing to sort of do on your dinner. I used to like it when I used to work up the other end. Yeah. I used to work on the Royal Course and just pop into the Walker.
Oh, like lovely touch of class.
Something like that. You go back feeling enriched.
I like that. I used to, when I worked in for a bank, I'm not going to name which one, in sort of...
They're all bad.
Yeah, the Speak Business Park. I used to walk to, where did you get married?
Speak Hall.
I used to walk to Speak Hall and walk around the gardens of Speak Hall.
Really nice.
So it'd take me 15 minutes to get there. I'd have half an hour either by the pond or doing a walk. Yeah. And then I'd have 15 minutes to get back. Yeah. And it was a lovely hour.
Yeah, the grounds at Speak Hall are lovely. I would recommend to anyone. If you're flying in from outside, it's right by the airport.
Yeah, it's convenient for everybody. Anyway, let's crack on with the Reds. Let's crack on with where we're up to. There's the fan update scheme. Information about that came out yesterday. It seems like it is very much aimed at tackling touts. It's just you can already, John, see the potential sort of sort of swampland Liverpool can fall into on this. I think it's really, really tricky for them. I suspect they're trying to do it out of the best spirit at the moment, and it's very much a very, very small step at this stage.
Yeah, it's the amnesty that people have been talking about for years, isn't it? This idea of a ticket amnesty, and I think it's an acceptance from the club that, first of all, that so many people have got fan cards in other names, and you know, there's people who've been dead for years who are still officially going to games, and that something needs to be done about that. And so this is the first step to that. But obviously, as you say, I'm sure they'll also have other things in mind. In the case of, you know, people who've got multiple fan cards in the same name, people who've got, you know, 18 people apparently living at the same address and stuff like that, and tackling that really. So I think, you know, how you view this news kind of depends where you are, really. If you're someone who's obviously got a season ticket in someone's name, but you've never even met them, then it's good for you, because I know someone messaged us over the summer saying, basically, I've got a season ticket, I've lost my card, it's not my name, what do we do? And I'm like, to be honest, mate, I don't know. I don't think you can go anymore, which is ridiculous, because you just spent £800 on a season ticket. So for people like that, and for people who, you know, who've built up credits on other people's, you know, cards or whatever, you know, it is good for them. It'll be in their name. Obviously, the club, you know, want to know who's in the ground for a variety of reasons, not just safety, but also I'm sure there's a bit of a, you know, we just want to know who's in and out. You know, marketing, exactly, yeah. But so for those people, I think it's good. I think it's, you know, it'd be a good thing. Obviously, for people who maybe can't go every week and like to pass the cards about or something, they'll be like, well, what does this mean to me, and things like that. So I think a variety and you know, in lots of different ways, we'll have to wait and see on this. But I know something that they are keen to do is to make it easier for people who can't go for whatever reason, to have nominated people and stuff like that. I'm hoping that'll all be part of that.
Let's see. I mean, it's one that you've got to sort of see how it plays out. There's FAQs on the Liverpool website, and it's worth clicking through them. They, to an extent, put my mind at rest yesterday. But again, you've got to sort of live this a little bit, or see the next stage of the proposals. I'm saying that as someone who genuinely, you know, I've been quite honest about the fact that I have a season ticket, but it isn't in my name, and that's where I am with that. And so I'm sort of looking at it a bit like, but we'll see how it comes through. And you know, it's not in my name. I don't expect to be on this same season ticket forever either. You know, the gentleman who's given it to me, he's not
just going to assign it to you.
Yeah, you know, he's had a change of life circumstances, but his change of life circumstances might lead to him at some point sort of saying, I'd like to go back. I feel as though I can get to at least 10 games a season. At the minute, he gets to about 3 homes, and we sort that out between us, and we've got a good relationship. He's sound, but I'm still looking at this a bit like, all right then, boys. I actually thought, how much do I look like him? Went through my head when I saw this. How much do I look like him? Not particularly. He's very blonde. What I might do is sort of get him to put a bit of something in his hair. I'll put a bit of something in my hair. You never know. It might come off. It is going to be interesting.
It was funny. There was someone messaging me, well, obviously in WhatsApp groups like we all are, and then there's one for the Reds. And someone was like, do you think they're going to start doing facial recognition at the turnstiles? And I was like, have you seen our turnstiles? Like, honest to God. Like first game of the season, they don't even let half the people in.
I know. But that is sort of a thing where you're a bit like, lads, does it all work? Does it all work? I think anything that sort of helps with the touting question and gets, makes that member sale, because it's really interesting. There's a perfectly legitimate criticism that lands at the Anfield Rap's feet, John, not just about the club, at the Anfield Rap feet around things like the members sale.
Yeah.
Because so many of our contributors, broadly speaking, tend to have ended up either with season tickets in their own name or season tickets in someone else's name. At times we're a bit cloth-eared about the issues around the member sale, and we'll swallow that, you know what I mean? No one says the Anfield Rap's perfect. But we're aware that is really, really difficult for some supporters, and anything that could ease that burden, maybe no bad thing.
No, yeah, massively. I mean, look, I haven't bought a ticket for years, physically, do you know what I mean? What I have to do for the final, I'm like ringing me mates going, you do what?
Yeah.
Because I've got
you jump through what? Fuck off. That can't be real.
Say less than an hour, Mick. Yeah. Because, I've got a season ticket, I'm on the Auto Cup scheme, so I just tick the things every year it comes out, and my aways, I'm linked with friends who basically just kind of sort it, really. And so,
like you, I am really put out when I have to deal with Liverpool's tickets, and do I really, and it's not, again, that's not an Anfield Rap thing, that's just me being a high-handed prick thing.
Yeah,
well, I've got to do what? I have got to do what?
So hopefully, it'll make it a bit easier for those people as well. So we'll, as you say, we'll see. You've got to sort of see on these things, but at least it feels like they've gone through the right process. You talk about the mistakes that were made over the chain marking thing and stuff like that. This has been they've been working with the fan forum. We know a couple of people on there. Jay McKenna's on there. Joe Bloss, who's recently been on, criticising the club for the trademark thing, he's actually on this fan forum. So it's something that they've been working on for 12 months, and they've got to an agreement that everyone seems to be happy with. I mean, this is Liverpool, so who knows?
This is Liverpool. I could just change my mind in a minute and slaughter them. This is the nature of the beast. Listen, there's a stat show that I did about Leicester. It was good, to be honest with you. I don't know what clip they're going to put in, but I got talking to Si Hughes on the train this morning, saying really interesting things about Gini Wijnaldum, and I looked really informed to Si, who's like a proper journalist and that, and it's because I've cribbed it all from this. So feel free to watch the stat show, and then you too can impress athletic journalists on the train. See you in a bit. These are Gini Wijnaldum's pressures over the course of this game. And when James emailed me, and it's, he always sends me very interesting emails, one of the things he said, he was stating in there, was the idea there was quite a lot of pressure on both sides, about 200 apiece, which is relatively high. Normally, as ever, Liverpool's front three lead the way. Mane, 37, Firmino, 28, Milner, 25, and Salah, 24. Salah works harder than people think in terms of running forward and pressing the ball. Wijnaldum was only 15. And I thought, well, that sort of corresponds with what I'd expect. I thought to myself, looking at Wijnaldum and looking at his radar and looking at what he often does in big games, I don't think he has the same onus on him to press that other players have. I'm really intrigued by this. We talk about the stats and what they can tell us a lot of the times, and we end up sort of, I think, when you use them well, you can end up with more questions than you get answers. And I think with Wijnaldum, this is a really good example. So these are the number of his pressures against Leicester. This is him against Chelsea. It's a few more. I think he ends up with 23 over the course of the game. That one, I think he ends up with about 23 against Chelsea. And then from there, I think you can see that it's not that big a deal. So he's 23 to Henderson's 35 against Chelsea, and he gets the full 90. He doesn't get the full 90 in the other game. And here's his next one. This is him against Arsenal, where he's only on 11. He comes off on 69. Henderson in that game is on 25 as a comparison point there. So you can see Arsenal there, and you can see his pressures as measured by StatsBomb. What is this about? Well, there's a couple of potential answers, in terms of the fact that he does pressure less than his fellow midfielders. It corresponds similarly with Fabinho across those games as well, by the way. So we can observe that Wijnaldum is less aggressive in pressing the ball. But the manager loves him, and the manager picks him. The manager has him on the game, for instance, in this one ahead of Henderson. So what is it that the manager likes that he gets to see from Gini Wijnaldum? And I think there's a couple of things. I think one of them is remarkably difficult to measure and always will be. And I think it's the idea that he closes passing lanes. I think he manages to position himself a lot of the time in the way where what he's able to do is occupy space and maybe more than one passing lane. Maybe he's able to really position himself in a manner which just makes decision making around the ball tough for the opposition. Welcome back from that. Hopefully there was something interesting in it. We're doing a stat show. I'm going to try and do it a little bit more and occasionally put it out in this slot, in the Talking Red slot as well. Just because I think it's difficult to showcase it without explaining what it is. It shouldn't come over as dry, and if it does, then I'm doing it wrong. And it shouldn't come over as the idea that these stats have got all the answers, because that is not the case either. Far from it. And in fact, the best people at Stats, and James, who we work with at StatsBomb, is really, really good at going, well, this throws open these questions and then doesn't tell you what the answers are because he doesn't have them. And that's the way in which that works. But anyway, more on that to come across the next sort of few weeks, and you can subscribe to the Anfield app, as you know, and if you download the app you can use the tokens to watch that show or anything else that you fancy. Salah's won GQ's Middle East Man of the Year. Now, are you up for Garston? How much does this shorten itself down? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to. If there was one and I wasn't nominated, I'd be furious.
I like the idea that maybe GQ could start doing this and could just start picking individual boroughs and almost run a quasi-parliamentary procedure across the country where we get to find out who the man or woman of various boroughs are. And I'd like to think you'd be in there for Garston.
Yeah, I mean, this is peak Neil making work for other people.
GQ in this instance, thankfully.
Poor GQ, we're having to go in and go, right, we did that magazine, no time anymore.
Yeah, we've got a whole new change of direction. It's a quasi-parliamentary procedure worldwide now, lads.
But yeah, no, pleased for him. It looked like he went. I don't know where the awards were, but we're very, very good at letting people go to awards.
Yep.
Which is good news. Maybe we should just do some, and we'll get all the players to turn up.
What, the Anfield Raptors? Yeah. We should just do some. It's a nice idea, and just say to the club, listen, you let everyone else. You go to everyone else's.
Yeah.
Come to ours.
It's a good way to hang out with Mo Salah a bit.
He scrubs up well.
He does. Yeah, he does. He wears a suit. Mo Salah, doesn't he? He looks good in Liverpool kits as well, but he particularly wears his suit, does his hair up all nice. But yeah, pleased for him. He's keep it coming. He's an international icon now, isn't he, Mo Salah? He's like more than a footballer. Aside from being a really good footballer, he's just more than that now, and he sort of belongs to the world. And sorry, and yeah, it's.
Do you think he's our first one of them?
I think Owen was. I think
Owen and maybe Barnes. Like Barnes sort of, I think it was a different time, but I think Barnes sort of transcended a few things.
He did, yeah, and then he was a cultural icon, John Barnes, wasn't he? But there wasn't quite he
wasn't worldwide, but he will have had certain pockets around the world.
He was as worldwide as he could be. He wasn't his fault. It was the world hadn't sort of caught up yet. So it was obviously pre kind of social media and the ideas of games being shown kind of all over the world.
And us not being able to play European football in that period. So Hull was quite worldwide as well. You get the impression that Barnes would have been exactly the same.
Yeah.
But he was,
But he was certainly more than a footballer. And I think, for Michael Howard, it was really interesting. I went and did some teaching in China in around 2003, and Michael Owen was this kind of huge star, and we were sort of a bit over him by then, do you know what I mean? And it was like, there's these kind of other people around now. I remember particularly, that was the time where Thierry Henry was maybe the best player in the world, do you know what I mean? But they were still like Michael Owen because of, almost what he symbolised.
It's really interesting, I think, and I think it's something that sort of can catch you a little bit unawares. I actually think Salah's worn it as well as anybody, certainly given the unbelievable numbers of sort of conflict that are around his own identity and where that is, where that sits, and different demands that have been made of him at different times. There was the mad stuff from the World Cup that he was clearly really upset about, which made complete sense in hindsight. I just think it's a fascinating thing that happens. Club are confident to be back to face Man United. If ever there's a game you want to play in terms of this conversation, it is that one. And it's a really interesting thing that the world will watch Liverpool versus Man United.
Yeah, they will, and I'm sure he'd be raring to go. It was interesting that he'd already actually pulled out of the Egypt game before. They'd sort of given him a break for it. I think there's a recognition in the Egyptian FA and with Salah's people that obviously he wants to play for Egypt, but everything that comes with it is sort of fairly exhausting for him, really. And so, for some people, the international break is a break, isn't it? It's kind of get away from it. I'm sure the Man United, I'm sure David De Gea can't wait to go play for Spain.
Yeah, he's been capped for them though recently as well. God, one thing to this, but no, I take the point. Sometimes it can feel like a relief. Harry Maguire is a really good example.
I'll go and do this, and it's a bit more of a laugh, and it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I'm sure they all love playing for the country, but in terms of these games, we're not it's not the World Cup. Do you know what I mean? And so, but I think for Salah, Salah obviously is a bit more than that, so it was interesting he was getting the break anyway, but I think, you know, it's a twisted ankle. I think obviously everyone was angry with the tackle, so, you know, maybe you make a bit more about the injury to kind of enforce the point, if you like, but I think he'd be completely fine, and I think he'd be really looking forward to the game as well. And we were poor there last year as well, and I think that's something that the players will want to put right. We weren't, you know, they were there for the taking a little bit last year, not just because of the position we were, but obviously the injuries they got first half as well, and I think it was our worst performance of the season in terms of chances created the next year and stuff like that. So yeah, they'll want to put that right, but Salah will be really motivated going into it.
Absolutely. I would agree with that from John. I would say that one and West Ham United were our two poorest performances of the season. It is an opportunity to put it right. That is to come, obviously, but we're excited because it's what you want at the moment. Liverpool versus Manchester United, first one back after the international break. We'll be easing into that through next week. You know where we are to subscribe, you know where we are to download the app. It's been Talking Reds, Neil Atkinson, John Gibbons and the Liverpool Gin Distillery. See you in a bit.